This is Deborah Atkinson, and you're listening to the Flipping 50 podcast, where I solve your biggest challenges, answer your biggest questions, so you can have the energy and the vitality you want in this second and better half. And today we are saving your New Year's resolutions. Truly, New Year's best intentions have already fallen by the wayside for 80% of people by the second week in February. 80%. Now, it's only fair to say that probably less than 50% of adults over the age of 50 even set them anymore. 20-year-olds are still pretty optimistic, and a lot more 20-year-olds will be setting New Year's resolutions in any given year. So as I record this, obviously it is the beginning of February. However, setting goals is important any time of year. So if you are catching this episode, stay tuned, because I'm also going to finish with something that really circles back to what's appropriate all year long when you're thinking about what's the importance of exercise and what is the most important tidbits potentially. I'm going to share 7 of them in a way that you can easily remember it. So let's think about this. Part of the problem with New Year's best intentions, New Year's resolutions, is the myth that a habit takes 3 weeks and you're home free. And I'm not sure if many of the 21-day challenges tease you based on that premise or not. I've been writing about this myth, though, of the 3-week habit change since 1987, when I first became an exercise and sports psychology major in grad school at Iowa State University. So a little shout out to my alma mater in Ames, Iowa, where I then later continued to teach for 15 years. But that 3-week habit, 21 days to change a habit, it's a lie. Like rumors that flew around in middle and high school, this one has been so perpetuated that no one even challenges it anymore. A habit is documented in science as requiring an average of 66 days to change. And there's really only one major contributing study that is out there, but it is readily available. And you can even put your hands on it. But that's whether you're making one or you're breaking a habit. So often what you want to do requires both, doesn't it? You know, in order to be at your optimal weight and energy, you have to start eating more vegetables and stop eating bars and processed foods. In order to get toned and complete your first 5K, you have to start walking and lifting weights when ordinarily maybe you're watching TV or cruising around on Facebook. So what about you? Do you believe it still takes 3 weeks, even when you've learned that's a myth? Have you noticed that phenomena? If you have a memory and it's sketchy, your mind will fill in the blanks. A false truth can become something you adamantly defend. You believe it like it was the truth. You can convince yourself. I mean, that can happen because you're trying to protect yourself, potentially. You know, you saw an argument going one way, and you saw someone else committing maybe an offense against you, or it's something that you actually did. I can remember as a co-ed, I believe I was in grad school, I slid into my garage door on ice, and you know, somehow I remember the story that I told the insurance company and the landlord got a little bit out of hand. It wasn't that I was guilty. I truly slid on the ice. However, I'm not sure what speed I was going, so we're going to leave that alone. But you know, having repeated it over and over, to recall it to my parents, to the insurance company, to the people who sold us the insurance, to the landlord, you know, it became a certain level of truth in my mind. And it's easy to do. If you thought something. You had this idea, concept, especially if you were upset. There's strong emotion around it. Even if your perception was wrong, you could be certain that the belief, even if false, is true. You'll continue to believe it unless you've been trained or you trained your mind to release negative thoughts. You'll hold it against anyone else who challenges it too. Perception is everything. Yours, mine, whatever you believe, that is our truth. Take a look at where your goals right now in this year may have gone wrong, because inevitably we've all set a goal, we've missed the mark, and then we feel badly about it. But we don't always come back and pick up the data, as I so often share with you, that a failure is only a failure if you stop instead of saying, okay, this was an experiment, this part of the experiment didn't work, so what is my next step? Which is exactly what scientists do. It's exactly what any Einsteinian discovery went through. There were hundreds, maybe thousands of failures that ever happened before any worthy discovery that we know and love today. But look at where things went wrong. So because in spite of the failure rate, goals, even resolutions are good to set. They indicate hope, right? Without that, life is fairly dismal, isn't it? So state those goals, again, potentially in the positive. It's not, I want to lose 10 pounds, or maybe yours is 20 or 30 or more. That's negative. There is a focus on why you're not perfect in that, and there's a truth to the woo-woo of the law of attraction that states you get what you focus on. So if you are focusing on weight you want to lose, you get to keep it because you're attracting it, right? So instead, focus on being at your optimal weight and your optimal energy, which potentially takes a little pressure off of the weight game, given you and I don't have control over the rate or the speed that your body will release the weight. And you may have some resistance about what it actually takes to lose weight. Clearing the liver, for instance, as right now my friend Dr. Alan Christensen is providing a 7-day metabolic challenge. And it's all about not strict dieting and exercise to extreme, which neither one of those are required nor recommended by me because they will throw your hormones further out of whack. But it's about cleansing the liver. That may be something you have to adapt as, oh, that's new. So remember, your perception is everything, and your default, if you're 50 and over, is probably going to go to, I've got to exercise more, and I've got to eat less. And that has been a downward spiral for decades. However, that is a perfect example of what goes on, and we believe it. It's hard to let go of that because at the least it's easy to understand, even if it doesn't work. True, the definition of insanity is continuing to try the same thing over and over, even when it doesn't work. But we do it, and it's human nature. It's not your fault because there will be resistance to changing, definitely habits and actions, but there's also resistance to changing your mind, perhaps more, because that is the foundation of what will change your actions. So think about that weight loss goal, or switching it to, I want to be at my optimal weight and my optimal energy. But what's in your way? Why has it failed? Why aren't you there yet? If we're in the 5th or 6th week from the point where you've set that as a goal, that I'm so busy, I'm always doing so much, or my husband just doesn't understand me. What I ask clients is, do you want those things to be true? Because you perpetuate that situation by repeating those things rather than finding a way to think about them as something in the past. Focus on how you can stop being part of the problem. Shed that skin of being static. You can change. That's just the way you are. Love me anyway. That thinking is great if you love it that way, if it's working for you. But if you don't love it, you're going to need to change the way you think. Catching yourself saying things you don't want to be true is a part of change. The question I have for you is, are you getting some juice or some energy, some adrenaline from saying those statements, from keeping them there? Often we are. It's like a drug addict. In an analogy, the very thing that keeps you sick and keeps you in a life you don't love is the thing you're addicted to and you want another fix of. And we're the same way. We may have things that, they don't serve us, and we actually know they don't serve us, but we keep doing them. Maybe for you it's having the third cup of coffee when 2 would do, and 2 would not throw you off with cortisol quite so badly. I won't tell you how I know this. We usually do get some juice from those negative habits we have, much like a drug, right? A pattern of thinking is hard to change, but you have to decide, however. So drug addicts do it. You can do it. I want to share with you, what are some of the most important habits that you can set as positive changes that you make in your schedule. So it is the end result that you might be wanting, but that is not a great way to set a goal or an intention, because we don't have control over that, while we do have control over the actions and the thoughts and the things we put in place so actions can become so much more automatic. And I start with this and want you to remember stronger. So it's an acronym. I am using it in media tours all over the country right now. And S stands for strength training, right? But it's true that, yes, if you're over 50 and you want to be in the best shape of your life, or the best shape of your life at the moment, strength training is your goal. And pink dumbbells are your enemy. You've got to lift something a little bit heavier, which brings me right to T. Train to fatigue, and know the difference between fatigue and tired. Any exercise, a lot of any exercise, can make you tired, but that's not necessarily making you better. So if you are constantly fatigued, you're not looking forward to exercise, or even if you do, you don't feel like you're making progress and you've been on that hamster wheel for too long, start looking at, do you fatigue at the end of every set? If you're doing 10 or 12 or 20 repetitions with a weight, are you reaching fatigue, muscular fatigue, such that it shakes a little? You're feeling like you can't hold good form anymore. You're not at risk for injury at this point, but you are feeling like, whew, got to put that one down. I'm there. That's where you want to be every single set, every time you lift. And then you're going to do R, recover fully. So what this means is you're doing exercise, but not necessarily more, just better. And then you've got more rest between. So truly, the mantra that I've always said since I wrote You Still Got It, Girl, is exercise less. And the other part of that is eat more, but it could also be recover more. By the time we're 50, and for some it happens earlier, for some it was true our entire lives, we require more recovery than we did 10 or 20 years ago. That's pretty certain among all the research. You now, compared to you 10 years ago, need more recovery time between exercise, between those tough or challenging sessions. And between, you can still do the milder, more moderate exercise, and that's a great way to balance your week. So tough weight training on Monday, tough weight training again on Thursday, and between, maybe you go for a walk, you do yoga, you swim. All of those things are very good and beneficial for your fitness level. But recover more. If you used to go to Monday, Wednesday, Friday, try doing Monday and Thursday, rest between, and be okay with the fact there's not a third one in that 7-day stretch. That's a hard thing to give up, but try. O means be on target for your goals. It drives me crazy as a fitness trainer of trainers to see a client working on exercises for their biceps with super light weights and sitting down, and to know that they've said bone density is my biggest priority. Well, sister, you've got to be lifting a little heavier weights if you're going to influence bone density. So imagine I'm tapping you on the shoulder with my finger, one little finger. You're just going to look at that and say, oh, what do you need? Right? But if I were to push you with one or both hands and shove you, you're going to push back. You're going to brace yourself, right? And that's what your bones do. When there's a big push, like a heavier weight, your bones respond and get more resilient. By pushing back, it stimulates them. That's not true with a lighter weight, even if you lift more times. Reaching fatigue with a light weight or with a heavy weight does help muscle, but it does not help bone in the same way. N stands for neat, means more. Your non-exercise activity time has a bigger impact on whether you will become overweight or obese than does your gym time, meaning you cannot compensate for 23 and a half sedentary hours by doing 30 minutes in the gym. So when we look at research of people who do once, twice, or 3 times a week of exercise, and I'm talking 1 time cardio and strength training, 1 time or 2 times cardio and 2 times strength training versus 3 times cardio and 3 times strength training. It doesn't matter if they're on the same days or not. Which do you think, make up your mind right now before I give you the answer, which do you think was actually more fit, had the greatest energy expenditure, all inclusive of their entire lives? It was, wait for it, the twice a week group. Because the first group, the 1 time a week, didn't have as much or enough strength and endurance benefits to actually feel like doing more. And the 3 time a week group had so much exercise that they couch compensated. They're like that, I worked out today, so I'm going to lay on the couch. I'm really tired. I'm not going to clean the house. I'm not going to rake the lawn. I don't want to do this. The dog's not getting a walk. Poor dog, right? But the 2 time a week group was in that sweet spot where they had strength, they had more stamina, they had more energy, they felt better, and they just went all day. They were the people who were like, let's go, let's walk the golf course, let's garden, let's clean the house, let's, maybe not a great example, but your house could be cleaner if you back off exercise just a little bit and or increase it slightly and then move all day long. That's much more important to your health and development of disease. G is get breathless regularly. And that means not necessarily do you have to be doing interval training, but if you are used to going for long, slow walks or bike rides or long, slow swims, every once in a while you need to sprint, quote unquote. Doesn't have to be on your feet. Again, for anybody who's worried about impact in joints, you can do it anywhere. So you can do it in the swimming pool, swim a little faster or run a little faster in that deep water running class you're in. Do it on the elliptical trainer on the bike, but get breathless. 20 to 30 seconds, 3 or 4 times during the middle of a workout, or it can be the workout after a warm-up and before a cool down, but that will help you turn back the clock, and mitochondria is what it's called. It helps you not get as breathless when you're going upstairs. Mitochondria production decreases with age. You can change it by getting breathless, but a long, slow walk every single day won't help quite as much with your mitochondria. Next up is E, enjoy it. Stop choosing only because how many calories does that burn? Or is that a great fat burner? And those things are great, but only if you love it. So if you love Zumba and music and groups and that energy, try to put that into your workout. If instead you actually like to be solitary and you want to plug in to your podcast or just to nature and go for a walk or go for a jog by yourself, know that about you. Think about that and choose the thing you love, because if you can see yourself doing it 5 years and 10 years and 20 years from now, that's the thing you want to be doing. You don't want to do some temporary 8-week program that you hate. Hate. And last but not least is R, to sew all of those things in. You started losing muscle at age 30 unless you were strength training to keep it. Best time to start was then. Next best time is today. Start strength training, but you've got to know your muscle is made of protein. And protein has to be eaten in order to fuel those muscles. Lots of controversy about protein right now, but for older adults, what we have seen from the research is eating 30 grams of protein an hour or more, between an hour and 2 hours after a strenuous or vigorous workout, helps you synthesize protein. So I don't synthesize protein as well as I did 10 years ago or 20 years ago. Probably it's the same for all of us. So we need a little bit more at each meal and to be more conscious of it, and that's not intuitive. A lot of older adults will think I need to push back on my portion control, but if you're taking in fewer calories and taking in less protein than you need, it will be hard to build your muscle. And we don't want to lose muscle mass because then we will become more frail, more likely to fall, and we slow our metabolism. Not what we're doing. So it's all about weight training, fuel for your weight training, and that's how you stay stronger longer. And that's it. And I'd love to hear your comments. There you have it. That's how you stay older, better, and grow bolder. I actually love those people over there at Growing Bolder. And that's BOLDER, even from this Boulder, Colorado girl, which is BOULDER. So if you have questions, you have comments about today's show, or you want to check in with me about your exercise program, your goals for this 2019, I would love to hear what's happening for you. Share them with me, and I'll work through them. If you need a little support and help, I'll get there for you. So you can visit the show notes at flipping50.com/New Year's Goals. New Year's Goals, and you'll find it, or you can simply go to flipping50.com/podcast, where you'll find all of the most recent episodes and this one that was released in early February of 2019. I love to hear from you, and I would love a rating in iTunes if these podcasts are helpful for you.